In the name of the Holy and Undivided Trinity. Amen. Are you exhausted yet? This is a peculiar Sunday when we're all asked to engage in a lot of role-playing. Regardless of what mood you were in when you showed up, you were asked to act as if you were overjoyed enough to start waving palm fronds. Then you and I and everyone here were asked to act out a second gospel reading, an unusually long gospel reading, saying things we really don't want to say, like calling for Jesus' crucifixion. Today, we can't just sit back and let our minds wander while somebody else reads to us. Not that I'm accusing anybody of doing that on other Sundays. Today, we have to participate at length. So if you're feeling a bit drained by now, you're in good company. We've acted out a whole range of emotions, and when we do that, it does change the way we feel. We can't keep it from affecting us. What we do with our bodies impacts our souls, as well as the other way around. And even when we know in advance the roles we have to play, it's draining. I want to mention, indeed, I have to mention, one more reason why I always feel especially drained on this Sunday in the church year. It's the way Jesus' executioners are portrayed in our readings. I'm pretty sure that every New Testament scholar in all of our Episcopal seminaries will tell you that in recounting Jesus' execution, our Gospels play up the role of only some Jewish leaders and only some of the Jewish people. And they play down the role of Pontius Pilate, who had a reputation for thoughtless cruelty. We can't pinpoint exactly how much exaggeration is going on. But it is going on. And we do know from lots of ancient sources that many Jews in Jesus' time, including many rabbis and many Pharisees, would have welcomed his putting people ahead of rules. I'm not saying that there weren't at least a few Jewish leaders who wanted him dead, especially the ones who were collaborating with the Romans. And I'm not saying that they couldn't assemble and manipulate a crowd into calling for his execution. I am saying that these voices do not represent the voices of the Jewish people or the beginnings of Judaism in Jesus' day. But that's the impression we easily can get when we act all this out. And over the centuries, these images have caused immeasurable harm to Jews. Over the centuries, especially on Good Friday, but on any day like today, when these readings were responsibly read in Christian worship, Jews would not venture out in public for fear of being attacked by angry mobs. Even for those of us who think we know better, acting out these readings reinforces stereotypes of Jews that just don't fit the facts. And that is doubly draining. And I can't not mention this, especially on days like today. When I participate in these readings, I cannot help constantly thinking, this is defamatory. Our church is seriously considering alternative liturgies to counteract this effect, and I'll go on record as a strong proponent. Of course, there's another way that we and our ancestors in faith have let these readings shape us when we act them out. These readings also make us, those of us who claim to be God's people, the very ones who reject or disown what God is doing among us. That's a theme you don't just find in the Gospels, but in both Testaments. Both Testaments unite to tell us this: among the greatest hindrances to God's insistent movement toward everybody's reconciliation are those of us who most confidently claim to be God's own people. Read just about any of the prophets and you'll find that theme over and over. And when we read these accounts of Jesus' execution, whether on our own or responsively on a day like today, we should read them through the recurrent message of the prophets, all the prophets. Those of us who most confidently claim to be God's own people are among the greatest hindrances to God's insistent movement toward everybody's reconciliation. And haven't we seen that? Haven't we seen it over and over again? We're especially good at seeing it among Christians who strike us as the most obnoxious. We see people using the name of Christ to underwrite just about any form of bigotry. We're horrified by Christians who equate following Jesus with America throwing its weight around, with shutting doors to people fleeing oppression elsewhere, with denying hard-won identities out of fear that anybody should be different. No wonder so many of our compassionate and thoughtful friends have given up on organized religion. We're quick to assure them that we're not like that. We're not like those Christians. And of course, we should keep insisting that none of these harmful ways are the ways of Jesus. We should keep speaking out and acting on behalf of those who most need allies these days. But this is a time in the rhythm of the church year when we need to internalize the words we say regularly. Like those we hasten to denounce, we have not loved the God who is love with our whole heart. We have not loved our neighbors as ourselves. It's time to recognize and explore how we too are just as capable of doing what we deplore in others, just as capable of standing in the way of God's insistent movement toward everybody's reconciliation. We too, as much as any hateful Christians we denounce, need the God who won't give up on them or us. And what we hear in the final words of the gospel we have read together is that God still won't give up on them or us. We hear Jesus' words of forgiveness. We hear words of assurance that even the worst of us won't be abandoned, that we will be with him and he with us. We hear words of trust as Jesus gives back his very self to the God whose life he lived among us. We see the hearts of everybody transformed, the crowds, the Romans, everybody, as Jesus breathes his last. We see hints that this story is not quite over. And that's where we remain throughout the rest of this week. We do, of course, know what's coming. But that doesn't keep us from occupying this in-between space. We act out rejections of love over and over, recognizing that we are not that different from those whose actions we deplore, hanging on to hints and promises of love's relentless return in ways we can barely describe. We began today with a boisterous procession. We end with the organ silenced for the coming week, inviting us to reflect quietly on the depths of human cruelty that infect all of us, sustained by hints of even greater depths to the love that refuses to abandon us even at our worst. The way of the cross opens to us now. Let us walk in it together with hope. Amen.